Alright. We'll do some more. This will be like part 2. So, again, what I'll do with this video is I'm going to start off by saying, this is based off of my experience. And that includes, like, okay, doing street outreach in the homeless service provider field for 10 years. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 10 years. And that includes also being trained by truly leading experts in the field. Many tens of thousands of hours of field application, field study, research, training. And then also having experienced living on the street myself for 10 years. Navigating all these wonderful, wonderful programs that society provides to help, homeless people. Okay, that's what this is based off of. And so, like, first of all, this is the problem. This is where I agree with Gnosticism. I agree with Gnosticism on many things, but there's different factions of Gnosticism, and so some I don't really have any interest in. There's one or two factions that are spot on. And where I read that thing where it says, like, basically what it says is the NPC. This is what Gnosticism says. And this is like fucking hundreds of years before we were born. See, this is something I think people have a hard time understanding is nothing is new. None of this shit is new. Not any of it. It's been going on for hundreds of years, like way before we were, and we all act and talk and think that all this is some new thing. Look at the latest news, breaking news. News is stupid. There is nothing fucking new, dude. It's the same fucking shit that's been going on long before we were ever around. And so the Gnostics rejected all of this society bullshit. And this is one of the belief systems that the NPCs adopt, is that the world is a good place. That this is all a good place, and that it is beneficial to the world that we participate in it. Like, because we're so important, and the world is a good place. Generally speaking, is a good place. And, see, people that don't understand homelessness is because they believe that the world is a good place. Therefore, those homeless people, they did it to themselves. That's cope. That's copium. That's how in society NPCs cope with homelessness, is by viewing it as, well, they must have done something to deserve being, in that situation. They must have done something. They must be bad people, because the world is a good place, and look at me, I'm not there. That's not my experience. I'm not doing that. And so this is the assumption. Believe it or not, whether you understand this or not, that is why society views homeless the way they do. Because society, they're all a bunch of NPCs who believe that the world is a good place. I mean, look at them. They're good. They're doing good. They're driving home from their state worker job, and they're pulling all the levers and pushing all the buttons and doing what they're told. And all those homeless people, they must be lazy, mentally ill, drug addicted, criminal, vagrant, degenerates who failed to take personal responsibility, because the world is good. Look at, everyone else is doing good. See, they believe the world is a good place. This is all good. No, so it's like if you were to propose the idea, like, well, say you propose this crazy conspiracy theory type idea to an NPC, is like, well, maybe the powers that be selected those homeless people and gang-stalked them into homeless poverty and continue to gang-stalk them while they're in homelessness, like performing different types of experiments, including voice-to-skull technology and stuff. And not just like a small percentage of homeless, but like the majority, like 90% of every homeless person in this country, they were hand-selected, they were targeted individuals, they were individually targeted at a young age to be gang-stalked into homeless poverty, where they would be trapped and remain for many years, maybe even the rest of their life. So you presented this conspiracy theory. People would be like, no, that's not true. Why would they think that's not true? Well, I know why. It's because they think that the world is a good place, that could never happen. That's a terrible thing, and terrible things don't ever happen, because this is a good place. The world is good. It didn't happen to me. There's not this massive gang stalking operation that has driven 90% or more of all the homeless people. They were all targeted individuals who were hand selected and individually targeted into abject homeless poverty, where they remain for years. And even unto this very day, there's no way that happens. That didn't happen. That's just an excuse. That's just a lame excuse that homeless people would use to get pity so that they can get more gibs and stuff. See, well, why is that so-called conspiracy theory so unbelievable to your average NPC? Well, because they believe that the world is a good place. It's a good place. Like, look, you can see, look at that nice car. Look at this fucking $70,000 car. I mean, that person doesn't even understand homelessness at all. They've never experienced it. They have no clue what it is. They don't even know. See, that's why. That's just a conspiracy theory. Imagine if that were true. Do this exercise. This is just a mind exercise. Imagine the possibility that 90% of all homeless people in this country, they were all targeted at a very young age because they were observed by the education system. And those were the people that were flagged when they were young. That like this person is going to be a problem to the system, so we need to target them into abject homeless poverty. And force them into, not only force them into abject homeless poverty, but keep the boot firmly planted on their neck, because these are the people that if we were to not, keep the chains bound, they might do something to change society for, No, it couldn't be that, because all homeless people, they're all just a bunch of lazy, mentally ill, drug-addicted, criminal, vagrant degenerates who failed to take personal responsibility for their lives through poor life decisions. It couldn't be that they were gang-stalked. You ever heard of the term gang-stalk? What do you think that means? Gang-stalk. What do you think it means? Let's talk about gang-stalking, right? Gang-stalking only happens to the middle and working class gammas. They're the victims of gang stalking, not homeless people. Those homeless people, they did it to themselves. Gang stalking. Now, there's some confusion, and I've seen this for years, because like I said, dude, I've been staring into the abyss for so long. I know homelessness inside out, upside down, forwards, backwards, you name it. I've seen it all. So think of it like, and I hear the story. It's the same story. I've been doing this for fucking since 2007, okay? And it's the same story. The story goes like this, that there's this new group of homeless people that aren't like those bad homeless people. They're just innocent, good people that fell on hard times. So there's the good homeless people, right? But it's all new. They just newly ended up on the street and they're innocent. But those other ones that have been homeless already for a while, those are all the evil bad ones. They're addicted to drugs and stuff. Do you think Nancy Pelosi is addicted to drugs, first of all? How many people in places of power in the United States do you think there are that are addicted to drugs of some form? A drug addict, is that what defines whether a person is good or bad? Or how about crazy? That a person's crazy, that's what makes them bad, right? A person's crazy, right? So if a person is gang stalked from a young age all the way up into young adulthood and beyond, do you think that might drive them crazy after a while? Are they driving themselves into insanity, or are they driven into insanity by society? There's no way that these people that we perceive as crazy were driven into insanity by like gang stalking and stuff, right? No, there's no way, because that only happens to the working and middle class gammas. Working and middle class gammas are the ones that are victim of all the gang stalking, not the homeless. Do you think that Nancy Pelosi is not crazy? Like, what is crazy? What isn't crazy? See, I see some guy just like flipping out, and he's running down the street and fucking shooting a gun and chasing some car, and he looks crazy to me. But how do I know what is the story behind that I have no idea what the story is? And the actual story is that the people in the car, they raped his fucking 3-year-old daughter and murdered and raped his entire family, and he's running after that car shooting at him, but he just looks like he went postal, and he's crazy. You know, what is sane? What is sanity? Show me a picture of sanity. George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan. That's a picture of sanity. Where's this picture of sanity? I hear so much about sanity versus insanity. What's the difference? Again, that guy, he looks super crazy running down the street, firing a weapon and screaming with tears, and he's all fucking crazy looking. And see, I didn't know that whoever he's chasing raped his 3-year-old daughter and raped his whole family and murdered him. I didn't know. All I saw is some crazy guys, therefore he's crazy. Same with the homeless. They're all just crazy. You can see the crazy ones, right? They're crazy. Well, are they crazy? Or are they having a natural response to a volatile situation, like being gang stalked for 10 years, 20 years, and they finally snap? How much gang stalking does a person have to endure before they snap? And what level of gang stalking, how intense does that gang stalking have to be before someone who's considered normal, or whatever the fuck that is, ends up snapping? Everybody has a breaking point, don't they? Well, go sell all your belongings and go live homeless for a while and see how long you last before you snap. How long do you think Nancy Pelosi would last on the street before she just looks like another crackhead fucking? She already looks like a crackhead, and she runs the fucking country. What is crazy? What are you even talking about here? What are we talking about? What about, so Joe Biden, is he a picture of sanity? Joe Biden? You know, would you even know what we're talking about? Again, I'm talking about homelessness. I'm talking about my experience, all my 20 plus years experience living it and doing street outreach, like being among, and all the fucking training, research, everything, field application, field study, everything. I'm talking like many tens of thousands of hours of fucking research and study and field application and training. What exactly are we talking about here? What are the facts? What are the facts? Like, again, going back to that guy he's like tripping out and he's fucking crying and screaming in anger and tears and running down the street firing at a gun, and this car is driving away and stuff. Like, what's the story with that? What are the facts? Well, if I don't have access to the facts, I don't know the fucking facts, right? So if I say it isn't that, say it's just some homeless guy fucking yelling at himself and walking down the street. Is he crazy? Or do I know the facts? What are the facts? It's funny how there are certain conspiracy theories that people will completely drink the fucking Jim Jones Kool-Aid on, despite any evidence at all. Whereas if I were to propose this, we'll call it a conspiracy theory, that 90% of all homeless people in America are victims of gang stalking. They've been gang stalked into abject homeless poverty. Meanwhile, every major news outlet reports how they're all just lazy, mentally ill, drug addicted criminals. Oh, don't even listen to them. If they have something to say, don't even listen to them, because they're crazy, lazy, mentally ill, drug addicted, criminal, vagrant, right, all that. Yeah. Now, why would a person believe that? Why would a person choose to believe that as opposed to the idea that they were victims of a massive fucking gang stalking conspiracy that drove hundreds of thousands and possibly even a million or well over a million homeless people just in the last 30, 40 years? And how many years of homelessness does it take before a person decides to experiment with some drug like heroin, where they're just like, dude, I can't take the pain anymore? Oh, because there's no pain involved in being homeless, right? Yeah. Oh, no, it's not. No, right? Because it's lazy. They're lazy. So what does that imply? Laziness implies they don't do anything. They just kick back and they just relax all day. That's what homeless people do. They just relax. That's all they do. Wow, that sounds pretty good to me. Man, if that's true, I should just go be homeless. I'm tired of fucking busting my back working. Well, all these homeless people, they're just laying around being lazy all the time. That's all they do, right? Well, see, the thing is that I know better because I lived on the street for 10 years. 10 years in a row. There is no job that I've ever had that's harder than being homeless. How much, let's say I offered you a job. Let's say I'm a trillionaire. I'm a Rothschild. And I come up to you and I contact you. And I say, hey, I have a business proposal for you. And I'm very wealthy. I want to give you an opportunity to make a lot of money. And maybe you're like, okay, you decide, oh, well, you know, who knows what this is? This is probably let's check it out. Let's find out what the fuck this is all about. And so you listen, and the guy's like, look, I'll pay you to go be homeless for 10 years, but you have to be homeless for 10 years. That means you have to cut off all ties with all your friends and family. You can't contact your family. No friends, no family. You can't have any money. So no money in your bank account. No job. No nothing. Right? You can't have money set aside. You can't call your parents or friends or family to help you. No, you have to cut off all of them, all of that. Any money you do have, it has to be locked up in a bank. Or we'll give you the clothes on your back and a sleeping bag. And that's it. Clothes on your back and a sleeping bag. You get whatever money stays locked up in an account until your homeless stretch is over. And you can't have any communication with any family or friends. You have to make all new friends in some place that you're completely unaware of, some other state. And no contact with any family or friends. And we'll know because we're trillionaires, so we're going to be monitoring you and watching you. And if you break the fucking thing, the contract's done. So how much would you be willing to get paid to be homeless for 10 years? Without any contacts with family or friends. And nothing. No car, only the clothes on your back and a sleeping bag in a place where you are unfamiliar with. How much? 10 years. $20,000 a year? Well, that would put you at 10 years at $20,000 a year. Wouldn't that put you at $200,000? Yeah. $200,000. So you'd do it for $200,000? I don't think you would. How about $2 million? Would you do it for $2 million? Well, maybe, but then you might not see the money because you know, homelessness is not a safe environment. You could end up dead in a year, and then you wouldn't get $2 million. You wouldn't get anything. You'd get a death. You'd just die of homeless poverty. and all the ways that you can die from homeless poverty, freezing to death. Yeah. How much would it be worth it to you? How much would you want? How much would you want, money-wise? Because they're allowing you to negotiate. So what would it be worth it to you to be homeless for 10 years? But you don't have any family, no friends. All you have is clothes on your back and a sleeping bag, and that's it. And you're in a place that you don't really are even familiar with at all. Like some state that you're not familiar with. No money, no nothing. We'll give you a pack of cigarettes and the clothes on your back and a sleeping bag, and that's it. And then you figure it out. You're like, oh, that'd be easy. I'd just go get a job. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, so there you go. You got 10 years to do whatever you think it is you're going to do to get out of homeless poverty. 10 years. And you might make it. You might pass with flying colors within a year. You'd have a job and you'd be fucking making good money and have a place and everything. Or you might be dead in a year. Maybe the cops beat you to death because you were sleeping in a park and it's illegal to sleep there. And there was some kind of misunderstanding where they thought you were talking back to them, and they just said, well, fuck you. And they just punched you, and they accidentally hit you in a spot and jammed your fucking nose into your brain, and you just died. And then it just gets swept under the rug. It wouldn't be on the news. It wouldn't be like, oh, the police officers killed this homeless guy. Who would care? Nobody would even care. You think there'd be a big George Floyd riot going on because of that? No. So how much would it be worth it to you to be homeless for 10 years? Because you just overcome, because, you know, it's easy. It's so easy. Yeah, it's easy, right? Yep. You know, I guess what I'm saying is based off of my experience, there is no job I've ever had that's harder than the work of surviving from one day to the next being homeless. Not one fucking job. But yet it's the homeless that are lazy, right? Yeah, it's the homeless that are crazy. Forget Nancy Pelosi and any people like that. It's the homeless that are crazy. It's the homeless that are the drug addicts. Forget people like Nancy Pelosi and all of them up in there. All of them up in that rank with Nancy Pelosi. Forget all of them. They're not drug addicts. It's the homeless that are drug addicts, right? Yeah. Right. You know, it's a pretty expensive habit to be a drug addict. I wonder if homeless are so poor that they're living in the streets of abject poverty. Where do they come up with all this money to to be drug addicts, right? And again, let's say you take up the offer and you're like, oh yeah, this homeless thing, no problem. Within a year, I'll have a job and everything. And then, but what if I'm right about gang stalking? And as soon as you're out on the street, the gang stalking operation starts targeting you, because the whole operation is designed to specifically target homeless people with voice to skull technology and any and everything else. Any kind of thing like voice to skull. That's what they're just implementing all of that on all the homeless, right? And you didn't know. You thought this would be easy, and all of a sudden now you're hearing there's this voice to skull shit. Like you're hearing all this crazy shit in your head. And then you start thinking you're going crazy. Then you start going crazy. Like Nancy Pelosi, right? What is crazy? What is a drug addict? Look, I smoke a pack of cigarettes a day. Does that make me a drug addict? I drink I drink a pot of coffee every day, at least. Does that make me a drug addict? What is a drug addict? Is Nancy Pelosi a drug addict? Well, if she is, why hasn't she been caught yet? And why are the homeless always looked at like the criminals? Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi just continues to go scot-free. You think there might be an inversion of reality going on here? Possibly, maybe. Or does that only happen to the middle and working class gamma? Only the middle and working class gammas experience the inverted reality, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Yeah. So what if you take on this deal because you're going to get paid $5 million once you get done with your 10-year homeless stretch or whatever. And then something that happens, like what happens in They Live, happens to you, where you start to see something, and it's because you're homeless, because your perception, you're going to be viewing everything differently than that. These people driving their $70,000 cars to and from work. If you're homeless, you're going to be living like John Nada from They Live. So what if by living like that, you see something that nobody pays attention to and everybody looks away and doesn't want to look at because they're, society, because the world is a good place. So we don't look at anything that isn't good, What if you have a John Nada experience while you're out being homeless and you find some sunglasses and then you realize like that there's all these demons everywhere and then nobody believes you, right? Like the movie They Live. But then They Live, it almost has a good ending, except for at the very end, guess what? You die. There goes your $5 million, right? Because isn't that what it's all about? Money? Everything is about money, right? Anyways, right? That's why homeless are lazy, mentally ill, drug addicted, criminal, vagrant degenerates who fail to take personal responsibility for their lives through poor life decisions, because everything is about money, right? 5 million, that's a lot of money. All you got to do is be homeless for 10 years. Would you do it for $5 million? At the end of that 10 years, if you survive and you don't die from abject. Hi, kitty. Look at this kitty cat just came. Hi, kitty, 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 kitty. Hi, kitty. Look at this kitty cat. Hi. Yes. Look at this little homeless kitty cat. Look at this. That's another thing that's always fascinated me about cats. What's the difference between a feral cat and a domesticated cat? Feral cats are like homeless, right? But how come we don't, as society, view feral cats the same way we view homeless people? Like when we see a homeless cat, we don't think, oh, what a lazy, dirty, mentally ill, drug-addicted, criminal, vagrant, degenerate cat that is. We don't think that, do we? Only when we see human beings homeless do we think that. But when we see a homeless cat, we just see a cat, right? That's all we see is a cat. When we see a homeless person, we see a lazy, mentally ill, drug-addicted, criminal, vagrant, degenerate who's failed to take personal responsibility for his life through poor life decisions. It's obvious. All you have to do is look at him. You don't need to know facts as to what happened. What is this person's story, Oh, we don't need to know that. All you have to do is look at them. They're a lazy, mentally ill, drug-addicted, criminal, vagrant, degenerate who's failed to take... Look at this cat, dude. See, this cat has good taste in human beings. This cat is a very smart fucking cat. He heard me over here talking all this shit, and he's like, dude, I want to go see what this guy's up to, man. But you know how cats are. Look at him go. He's like, fuck you. Good for him. He might come back if he feels like it, but... Cats are fucking amazing animals, dude. Anyway, like when I see a homeless person, I don't be like, oh, that's that particular type of homeless person. And and then I see some other homeless person. Oh, that person's an innocent, one of the good homeless people, and that's one of the bad ones. I don't know. How would I know? Here he comes. He's coming back. How would I know the difference? It's like, it's absurd for me to assume that I have such superpowers of discernment that I can tell the good homeless people from the bad. I'm telling you, it's all relative. It's the same as there's good people and bad people in any and everything, and the homeless is no different. The mistake that society you are making is that you believe society. Society is telling you there's these homeless people that are good, and they're just new on the street. They only just barely. I've been noticing all these homeless people that are good homeless people. Dude, you know how long I've heard that story? Every fucking year since 2007. It's the same fucking story, dude. You can't tell. If there's one thing that I hope to continue to retain as a lesson in life, is you can never tell with people, man. Look at this storyboard I did with dude. You can't never tell one way or the other. You can see someone and assume they're the biggest piece of shit in the whole world, and then be like, bam, and they prove you totally wrong. And vice versa. You could look at someone and think they're the greatest person in the whole wide world, and bam, they'll prove you wrong. Like, over and over, time and time again, this is the way reality works. You can't tell with people. I don't have that magic magnifying mind. The only discernment I have is I understand that I don't know. If I understand that I don't know, then I can make decisions based off of that, where I can say, well, I don't know this person. For all I know, this person is the greatest person in the whole wide world. I see these red flags, and for some reason they're there, and I'm going to listen to my instinct that there's some reason that these red flags are deterring me from this person. That doesn't mean they're a bad person. I don't know. And that's the point. I don't know. But out of self-preservation, that's the only discernment I have. I can't just look at someone and be like, oh, that person's a piece of shit or whatever. I don't know. I just have to use my discernment as best I can. And I try to be non-judgmental. It's hard. It's not easy at all. But really, what do I know? What do I fucking know, you know? And that's what I'm saying. Like, homeless is relative to any and every other group of people. You've got good people or decent people. There are no good people. I don't like... When someone says that I'm a good person, I say, no, I'm all right. I'm all right. There's people that are all right, and there's people that aren't. There are no good people. Anybody that tells you they're good, fucking run. Get away from them. I'm a good person. Fuck you. I'm like, nah, whatever, bro. No, there are no good people. Where? Show me one good fucking person. There aren't. That's the problem. And I am not a good person. That's my problem. There are no good people. The Bible was right when Jesus said, why do you, even Jesus himself in the Bible says, why do you call me good? There is only one that is good, and that is God. So even Jesus rejected the idea of being called good. Even Jesus himself said, don't call me good. Why do you call me good? There's only one that's good, and that's God. So don't fucking call me good. There are no good people, dude. There are people that are okay, and then there are people that are they're just bad people. So when I'm using my discernment, I avoid like that I'm convinced someone is bad. All I do is acknowledge that there's some reason that I'm getting a bad feeling from this, and I'm going to just listen to my instinct. For all I know, that person's cool, so it's no judgment towards them. It's just me preserving myself. That's all it is. I have no enemies. I make carelessness my enemy.